Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Before I get started, I ask that you hit the like button. If you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast, hit that subscription button and help the State of the Saints podcast grow. As people are forming in, I got some announcements that I want to make. I want to say thank you to everyone that has checked out the Gumbo Pot Sports podcast webpage. The last article that I wrote about DeMarco Jackson was one of the most viewed articles that I wrote. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you that clicked on the website and checked out the article. And also, I'm proud to announce that the Gumbo Pot Sports podcast, along with myself, will be covering our very first college, Coastal Carolina University. Today, I just got my media credentials to cover Coastal Carolina Chanticleer football. So I'm excited about that. And hopefully we will be opening up a HBCU division really, really soon. I got in contact with the media department of Jackson State University. Of course, I had to start with my alma mater to get that started. But as y'all can see, State of the Saints podcast is growing. Gumbo Pot Sports podcast is growing as well. And I'm excited about it, man, because it's all about covering sports. It's all about trying to give you all information. I tell people all the time, and this isn't a knock on anybody, I'm not real big on withholding information and holding it behind a paywall. I'm not knocking anybody that does that. I mean, I understand that, when you are into a business, I mean, you want to make sure that you get paid and you have to pay employees. But I just feel like information should be shared and people shouldn't have to pay for it. And, I just want to make sure that the Gumbo Pot Sports podcast is a publication that is for everybody, no matter if you got $1 million in your pocket or 1 cent in your pocket. Want to make sure that we keep you informed to the best of our ability. So those are some exciting things coming up, as well as some other NFL teams that we have, in place. So I'm going to have that information for you really, really soon. But we're not here to just talk about the NFL. We're here to talk about the New Orleans Saints. And we're all here to talk about the Saints mandatory minicamp. And we're going to be talking about that. And I'm not going to talk long. I want to hear what you all have to say. I said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it. We're back to the original format. We're taking calls. We're going to be answering questions. And I want to hear what you all have to say about minicamp. Don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. I understand some people, they tell me all the time that they want to call in, they want to chime in, but they're kind of nervous. This isn't one of those places where you have to be the most informative if you got something to say, express yourself. And that's what the State of the Saints podcast is all about. And going forward, that's what we're going to continue to do. But let's talk about Saints minicamp from my perspective. I thought that, it was good, 100% participation, for the exception of those that, of course, were dealing with some injuries and rehabbing, of course. But all in all, everybody was at the facility. And I think that's a plus if you are a Saints fan. You don't have situations like out in Buffalo where your star wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, didn't show up at all for no apparent reason at all, who just recently got paid. You don't have to worry about that. I mean, some of the people that, I won't say people, but some of the players that we were concerned about, we didn't see at OTAs, guys like Alvin Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore, they showed up. And as you can see, if some of you checked out some of the footage, and shouts out to the hardworking reporters on the ground and photographers that cover the New Orleans Saints, got a lot of video of AK looking like AK. I'm not really concerned about him not being at OTAs. I didn't feel like that was a big deal at all. If you follow the career of Alvin Kamara, he never really shows up to OTAs, but he always shows up in shape and ready to go. We know that he's constantly working. He always put out different videos of his work regimen, to get everybody excited. We always are left in awe about his balance and his ability to make people miss and how he makes things look so easy as a running back. And, Derek Carr is really excited about it. Derek Carr, and I apologize for this. Before I did this show, I was actually cutting my grass, so I didn't get a chance to kind of snip and chop things up, but I'm encouraging everyone to check out the interview with Derek Carr when he spoke to the media on today. If you're watching this on the Tuesday, he spoke about 27 minutes, man. And he talked a little bit about AK, and he talked about how excited he is to, be able to throw him the football and have him in the backfield. And he also talked about other things, as well, about getting guys to football and not being concerned about, what people are saying and all the checkdowns and stuff like that. I like how Derek Carr mind is working. I think that you need that leadership because, in a game of football, especially, when you are a number one guy or you feel like you're a number one guy, guys can get arrogant. Guys can become full of themselves. They can be like, why you ain't throwing me the football? And you need that quarterback to be able to put you in your place. And it's not a knock on the guys, but you need that because you'll find yourself, being a little bit frustrated because you're trying to please everybody. And I like the way that he is approaching playing a quarterback position going into his 10th season. The fact is, you understand that you can't please everybody. You got to get a ball to the guy that's open. And if the guy who feels like he's open isn't as open as he thinks, you got to kind of shrug it off and keep it moving. And, he's also excited about being a part of the Saints team and, being acclimated into the culture. He talked a little bit about the culture he came from growing up in Texas. And he talked a little bit about how the culture has changed and how, New Orleans natives and also guys who are staples of the team has wrapped their arms around him and brought him into it. And he's really appreciative of that. And Derek Carr, look, whether you are the biggest Derek Carr fan or not, I like the way he's talking. I like the energy that he brings. He can come off to me a little bit of, arrogant if you don't understand football fully, because you have to have a level of arrogance to play the game. You got to be a little cocky to play the game. And that's not a knock. You know what I'm saying? Now, when we go a little further and you're just shrugging people off and you're acting like you're holier than thou when you're out here in the streets and on the field, then I feel like that is a problem. But when you have a level of cockiness to a point where you have to have that, when you have to be able to talk to guys and help them to understand, like, man, I can't get the ball every time. You got other teammates as well. Or, I got to be able to let you know the type of routes that I want you to run. When you have a guy that can be that comfortable, it's a plus. And you can tell that the guys are really excited about having Derek Carr there. And anybody that was kind of on the fence about it, hey, man, all you got to do is just look at the team. These guys are excited about Derek Carr being a part of the team. And I understand that some people may not have been as happy because they wanted Jameis or, someone else to be the quarterback. But Derek Carr, he does bring in a level of leadership that I feel like the Saints are going to need in 2023 as they try to tread these new waters post Drew Brees and Sean Payton, as we all have seen. Also, a little bit of injury news. Rashid Shaheed, who was a hot topic among Saints fans, and he's been dealing with a growing injury. He wasn't taking a part in practice. It's nothing to be too concerned about. The Saints are resting him, and I can understand that. If you've been watching Rashid Shaheed at OTAs, you know that Rashid Shaheed has really taken steps forward as a route runner and a pass catcher, and I'm excited to see what he can actually do. But this also opens up opportunities for other guys that can play the position. Guys that may not get as many reps get pushed forward because of the absence of Shaheed. And you also had Keke Coutee, who came in, a former Houston Texan, a former Miami Dolphin, a guy who is pretty solid. He's not a household name or anything like that. I mean, you probably know who he is because of his name. But I like him a lot. I think he's a really good contributor with special teams. I've seen him make some plays. I've even seen him take over a game a few times. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be a regular thing, but I think that the Saints are trying to look at and evaluate as many receivers and pass catchers as they possibly can, and there's nothing wrong with that. And also Marshawn Lattimore, who I mentioned at the top of the show, he has returned as well. Marshawn Lattimore is as advertised as we know. He is slowly starting to get the respect that he deserves as a cornerback, and not just in the realm of Saints Nation, but also everywhere else. And, I think that he's one of the best in not only in the NFC, but in the entire NFL. And the Saints are expecting him to be at full form, because when Marshawn Lattimore is playing, you can have him going up against the number one wide receiver on each team. And if he can neutralize that number one receiver, it opens up endless possibilities. I think the game where he came back versus the Philadelphia Eagles really showed that. Now, I understand that Jalen Hurts didn't play. It was Gardner Minshew, but it also shows the impact that Marshawn Lattimore has every time that he's on the field. And you also have some guys that are starting to emerge, becoming veterans now. You got Paulson Adebo going into his third season. Alontae Taylor is another guy that everybody's expecting to do something. Bradley Roby is another guy who has been in the system for quite some time. And you also have the Honey Badger and Marcus May out there as well. So there's so many talented players that are out there in the secondary and on defense. And the defense today, they had a really good day. From everybody that I talked to, they said that the defense looked pretty good. The offense had a little bit of growing to do. But, the fact is we expect for the offense to have a little bit of sputter in the road because these guys are just starting to get together. Brand new quarterback, right? Brand new wide receivers. The chemistry between those wide receivers and quarterback, chemistry between running back and quarterback. I mean, these things are going to have to mesh. You have a lot of guys on defense that are familiar with one another and understand each other's tendencies. So that's not a problem. Like I know some people were concerned about it. I've seen some of the comments, but I wouldn't be alarmed by this. I mean, it's expected. It's almost like if you're going out to the blacktop, you're playing at the park, and you got five guys, y'all running whole court, and you got five guys that are familiar with one another, and all of a sudden you just come out there and you see four guys sitting on the bench and say y'all want to play. You're not going to have the same level of chemistry as those five guys that play with each other all the time, right? So that's expected. I expect for the defense to be able to step up. And we talked about that on the last episode, that the defense should have taken a step forward and be ahead of the curve, more so than the offense, because the offense has to find a way to figure it out. But that's day one of Saints minicamp, in my opinion. I'm going to read some of the comments, and I'm going to put the link in the comments so you all can kind of chime in. Let me know what you think about Saints day one of minicamp. But thank you all for being here. We got 86 people watching this right now, and I appreciate all 86 of you. I ask that you hit the like button. If you love the show or you like the show, please hit the like button. We're trying to grow, and I really need your help with that. You can also donate to the State of Saints podcast by using super chats as well. And also, if you have some comments, man, make sure that you put them down there. Don't be afraid. Like I said, it's not about how knowledgeable you are. It's about, interacting, and don't be afraid, to be able to chime in. I would love to hear from each and every one of you. But let me go ahead and read these comments. I'm going to scroll now just a little bit, and I apologize if I scroll down to a point where I don't see your comment. Feel free to copy and paste it as we go forward. Okay, it's not a knock on anybody. All right. And honestly, oh man, let me see if I could actually find this. If I can't, I'm gonna be so upset. All right. We got a special new soundbite for all those people out there that may get mad, that you don't read their comment. All right. And I thought that this would be suffice right here for all those people, because every now and then you have people that come in and be like, TJ, you didn't read my comments. So I got something for you. Check this out.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
Because I think people need to understand that you is kind, you is smart, and you is important. So even if I pass up your comment, you is kind, you is smart, you is important. All right. But let's go ahead. all serious. Let's go ahead. Let's go with King Arthur. King Arthur said, "Hey TJ, it was nice to see AK working those drills and not missing a beat." Well, I think that, and shouts out to King Arthur, man. Thank you for being here, man. Appreciate you, brother. AK is, we all know what he is. Like, it's not a concern about the type of player that he is. We know how dynamic he is. We know how special he is as a player. So if he's not around, I'm not concerned, because we all know that he's putting it in and he's putting in the work. And I understand, it's a little bit of a life change. Also, I know he's expecting his first child. Congratulations to that brother. But he's a professional, man. And no matter what he's going through, whether it's, the birth of his new child or what's going on in the court system, and Dennis Allen, I mean, he hit the nail on the head, like him or not. When those guys get between those white lines, all that stuff goes away. Anybody that's ever played a sport, right, is basketball, football, baseball. That's where you can release, right? That's where, you leave everything on the field. Like, you leave all that stuff on the outside and just focus on the task at hand right now. So I didn't expect for him to look any different than what we've seen in years past. And I expect for him to be, as special as he always been. And hopefully they can get back to the screen games, to things, and also the check downs, and give him more opportunities to be able to, make plays, because we know that he can do it. I think that we need to see more games like, ironically, like we saw when he took on the Las Vegas Raiders and he single-handedly defeated the Las Vegas Raiders by himself offensively. I think that you'll probably see more of that with Derek Carr, to be honest with you. Smoke Monday fans. He took some first string snaps. He split with May and the Badger. I'm just saying. Well, that's a positive thing too. The fact that, Smoke Monday is getting opportunities. He didn't get a chance to really show what he's made of last season. He had that early injury that kept him out the entire year. But, the fact that he's actually getting those reps, I think that that's a plus. And also, I think that Saints fans are going to be excited about it, especially if he can stay healthy. Maybe we can see Smoke Monday in some type of action in the preseason to get people, talking and, understand what type of player that he can possibly be, even though it's preseason, but still get some reps, because I think people are extremely excited to see what Monday can actually do, which is why I say camp is so important. The more reps you get with these new people, the better. Yeah, I agree with that, because, this is your opportunity to make those mistakes and be able to correct those mistakes, right? So you'll be able to hit the ground running. I understand that some people feel like, oh man, I got it. I understand. What I'm saying? I get it. But when you get more reps and you can develop more chemistry with your teammates, your coaches, or what have you, I think that, you're ahead of the curve. I think when guys start to sit out and for no reason, like, let me explain this. The fact that guys sit out because of, contractual reasons, I can understand it, right? Because you're trying to take care of your family and stuff like that. And I just think that we need to humanize people when it comes to that. Now, I understand when the reports come out, when we start hearing 20 and 30 and 40 and up to $100 million, we start to roll our eyes, because we're probably not going to see that type of money in our lifetime. But you have to understand that they play a sport that puts them in a certain tax bracket. So you kind of have to put yourself in that situation where if you're working hard at a job and you're doing everything that you can, you're showing up early, you're putting your best effort in, but a year is going by, 2 years is going by, and you didn't get that promotion. You didn't get the extra money that you were supposed to get as far as, merits every single year. That'll frustrate you, right? And it may even make you guess finding another job, right? Because you feel like that particular job doesn't respect your value. So I can understand that. But when guys have everything going and the contracts are straight, there's no reason why I feel like you shouldn't be a part of mandatory mini camp. No, I mean, I'm just being honest, man. I like Stephon Diggs, but I don't understand why he's not there. And I do agree with you, Yella. The more that you can be time on task with your teammates, the better. I'm scroll down just a little bit, then we're gonna open up the phone lines. Going to hear what you all have to say. Let's see. I heard all the running backs are kind of doing their own thing, not really clowning around or staying together. What you think of this? Well, first off, I didn't hear this. I didn't hear this at all. Everybody seems to be on the same page. These guys are getting along as far as I know. I think what you have with Jamal Williams, he's just an animated guy. Alvin Kamara is more of an animated guy as well. And Kendre Miller is more of a, laid back guy as well. You know what I'm saying? He turned up when necessary. But I haven't heard anything like that. But you also have to understand this too. It's a competition. Like guys can smile in your face all the time, but it's about competition, man. If you're the number one guy, you want to show that you're the number one guy. If you are a guy that's trying to be the number one guy, you want to try to impress those coaches to a point where you want them to believe that you are the number one guy. But I think all in all, man, these guys understand, the ultimate goal is as a team collectively to win. But at this particular point, it's about competing. But I haven't heard anything about these guys, being off to themselves. Like they're cordial with one another, they're teammates. But at the same time, when it's time to work, it's time to work. Like it's a time to joke around and play, and there's a time to be serious. And if you want it, sometimes you got to turn it off and get a little bit serious. But as far as I seen and everything that I heard, like these guys were very, very excited to be there, and they were very like playful and jokingly. You played around jokingly. So I mean, that's what you want. I didn't hear anything negative. Any news about Shaq Davis? Haven't heard anything about Shaq Davis at all. But it is, it's a little early, man. It's a little early in the off-season process. We haven't got the training camp just yet. So, there will be opportunities where these guys can go out there and make plays. There's games that they can be a part of in order for them to make plays. Haven't heard anything about them, but, who's to say that we won't hear about them in the future? There's plenty of opportunities for that. With Kamara, it's the lack of effort for me. I don't think that it's the fact that Kamara is given a lack of effort. I think that it's just human nature, to be quite honest with you. It's human nature to when you feel like, that you're trying to climb a mountain and it's impossible to climb. It's kind of, you're not going to have the same type of vigor and intensity that you had when you first believed that it was possible. Like if you look at the Saints offensive line last year, I mean, it was bad. The blocking was bad. Now, a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were plugging and playing. A lot of guys weren't there. Offensive line was dealing with issues. There were very few games that they all played together collectively to be able to become a cohesive unit, to develop that chemistry that you need as an offensive line. So I can understand, it's frustration. The fact that, if Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill is handing you off the ball, and as soon as you get the ball, a defender, Brian Burns, in the backfield already, wouldn't that frustrate you? I don't look at the fact that it's just the lack of effort, but I think that he want like it'll frustrate you, especially like when it keeps happening over and over and over again. But I'm not gonna knock this dude because I understand how special Alvin Kamara can be when the opportunity presents itself. You also have to look at the offense that was being called. How many screen plays did you see? How many angle routes did you see? How many plays did you see that made Alvin Kamara special happen last season? They were using him as if he was a 230-pound running back, right? Have him running up the middle, a stretch play every now and then. That's not the things that have made Alvin Kamara special. So, I mean, that would frustrate anybody. I don't feel like it's just a lack of effort. Like I'm guys just don't become, just that, play terrible, you know what I'm saying, because of maybe due to injuries, maybe. But the fact that this dude has been one of the best players offensively for the New Orleans Saints since he got into the league, I'm not ready to give up on this dude just yet. I can understand why, he can be frustrated. That would frustrate anybody. But, I feel like you're probably going to see him get back to the player that he's been. But it also has a lot to do, and it has to do with the fact of, the offensive coordinators and, getting him in position and putting him in position to succeed. If you can't do that, then guess what? I mean, you're going to see more frustration. I mean, it's hard, man. Go back and watch some of them plays where, Alvin Kamara get the ball. Now, I can't make excuses for the fumbling, especially in that game versus the Panthers and stuff like that. And he did fumble the ball quite a bit than we've grown accustomed to. Like, this dude is probably one of the most sure-handed running backs I've seen when it comes to catching the ball and holding on to the football. I can't make an excuse for that. But for the most part, when somebody handing you off the football and you got somebody in the backfield as if they was in a huddle with you, that would frustrate me too. I'm going to go ahead and put the link down in the comments. So if you want to talk a little bit about Saints minicamp, go ahead and chime in. We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, go ahead and finish reading some of these comments. It says Bob Ross been painting and smoking trees for years. I don't know what Bob Ross got to do with anything. Hey TJ, I know I'm kind, smart, and important, but what are your expectations for Brian overheated knee Brisee? Look, I got high expectations for this guy. And, was he my first choice? And, as a guy that the Saints drafted, would I have selected him or feel like he was the guy? No. But I can understand why the Saints got him. And from everything I'm hearing, he looks pretty good. He is a little bit taller than what you'll see most defensive tackles, but the fact that he's actually working out with the first team and he continues to do that speaks volumes. And the dude also, man, look, I got to give the dude a pass. Dude has been through a lot in his life to be so young, losing his 15-year-old sister to cancer and also dealing with this knee injury. I mean, losing someone you love is one thing. And then also on top of that, you're dealing with that injury. So, I mean, I think that the guy is going to be pretty good. And I expect for him to play well. So I'm not going to knock this guy, right now because I need to see him play. Now, if, knocking him is warranted, then I have to have that conversation. But as of right now, I think that he's capable of doing some special things. And not only that, his ability to be able to play on the inside and outside. So be on the lookout for that too. Roderick, thank you very much for the $5. Says we got Ted Ginn in the building to help out with the wide receiver core. Yeah, I mean, look, Ted Ginn is no stranger to coaching. He does a little bit of coaching in his native state of Ohio at his former high school, if I'm not mistaken. So Ted Ginn, and who has been in the league for a very long time before he retired, and he also was a really good contributor for the New Orleans Saints towards the latter parts of his career. And, he's always showed leadership and guys respect the heck out of him. So if he can come in and provide a little bit of a spark and a little bit of knowledge to go into that wide receiver room, guys are going to listen because they respect him and how long he's been in the league. I like it. I think that, it's probably, the way that how it sounds when it comes to him being there, the way Dennis Allen put it, seemed like this isn't going to be just a few days. They want to make it seem like they want to make it a little bit longer, maybe even going into training camp. But let's go ahead and go to Keen Arthur. Keen Arthur, how you doing, man?
What's up, homie? Woo.
Hey, how you doing, man? Appreciate you for chiming in, man. What you got for us?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you, TJ. My body a little beat up, big dog. Like it's the busy season for my company, bro. Running out around with them kids and them adults and them games, bro. I'm a little
Yeah.
beat up, you heard me? But don't judge me, bro. It's
Hey,
35. You already know what time it is.
hey, man, sure. I was out there cutting the grass, man. I was almost out 4 to 6 weeks today, so I completely, I completely understand how you feel, man. Hey,
Oh,
it comes
you
with
was about to
age.
go on. You was
Yeah,
about to go
wisdom.
on IR, huh, bro?
Exactly, man. Wisdom ain't the only thing that come with age, man. Aches and pains and bare back and body, you know.
Yeah. But I got a few questions for you, big dog.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, man.
You talked about the human element and humanizing these players.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that all the time. It's like as fans, we oftentimes forget that these dudes are human. They have character traits that may need to be changed or need to be improved and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget about that and just assume that because they're a player, they're supposed to operate like a machine. Like
Right.
you shouldn't have no jealousy. You shouldn't have no situations where you acting outside of what we expect you to act because you're in the league. So
Right.
my question to you is, do you think money, fame, things of that nature changes a person, or does it exacerbate what's already there in terms of personality?
I think it does a little bit of both, you know. Number one, you know, when you have money, of course, it's going to change you in certain ways. You know, it's going to change the way that you live. It's going to change the way that you move. But I do feel like there's certain aspects of you it shouldn't change. It shouldn't change the way that you treat people, the respect that you show to individuals. I don't feel like it should do that. Now it can change you, you know, but I also agree, you know, guys don't become monsters overnight. You know, or women don't become monsters overnight. You know, I just think that given opportunity, the fact that you go from, you know, maybe like $30 into your bank account to $30 million, you know, into your bank account, you know, it can change a person. And, you know, you have to be able to put some things into perspective. I feel like, you know, it's the same way it was going on with Ja Morant. You know, like Ja Morant is a really good basketball player, but I think Lil Wayne, you know, said it right. You know, this guy comes from a small town. You know, he probably had to, you know, scratch and claw to get everything he had, and now he has all the money that he needs to be able to do everything he wants, and it's kind of hard for him to kind of control that. But you know, but still, at the end of the day, I feel like it's going to change you, but it shouldn't change you to a point where you're just so unfamiliar that nobody recognizes you anymore. But it can change you, man. But you got to fight every day to make sure that it doesn't.
That's a good point, big dog, because I'm sitting there looking at some of these players. I'm looking at how fanatics, which you know that's what that is, a
Mm-hmm.
fan like that. I'm looking at how they coming at these dudes and how they talk about them like these dudes are machines.
Right.
Like I'm not, and that's not me, you know, condoning what they do or anything like that. But what I am saying is, bro, these dudes are still human. They're still
Right.
gonna make mistakes, even no
Mm-hmm.
matter how much money they got. They just now the money just got them on a bigger stage to get scrutinized.
Right. Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree. Yeah, I agree with that, man. You know, I think, you know, fans, reporters, you know, I do believe that they don't humanize these guys because we look at these individuals as larger than life, and you know they do something that a lot of us wish that we could do, you know, and I just think that we don't, because these guys are so special and they're so athletic and they make so much money, it's hard for us to just kind of look at these guys as human beings. But I gotta be honest with you, King Arthur. Over the last few years, me having opportunity to see these dudes work and how, you know what I'm saying, how they agents are over there talking to them. Like the whole, like, you know, Senior Bowl combine experience for me, like it's eye opening. It's like you realize that these guys are human beings. Like I was shouts out to my guy Lance Boykins. He's undrafted rookie. He got signed by the Seahawks. He went to Coastal, and I was actually at the combine. Man, I'm sitting behind his daddy and his brother, and he had like a shoebox or whatever like that. His dad was like holding his cleats or whatever like that, and he was like, "Man, I got your cleats," because he forgot them, and his dad, I think, went go get them or something like that. But it was like, You know what I'm saying? And they was like watching this guy so attentively, and they were cheering for him. Daddy almost had tears in his eyes watching his son do this. It humanizes him. And I said, if I feel like if fans can see that on a consistent basis versus two talking heads talking about how this dude dropped the football or how this guy is throwing a football, I don't feel like you'll have that same type of energy when it comes to these players. Now, as a member of the media, you know, as an onlooker, I think it's fair and well within your rights to be critical of a guy if you feel like he ain't putting forth the effort, and it's obvious. But, you know, at the same time, I do think we need to understand that these guys are human beings too. They got lives, they got families. And, you know, it just like how if you don't show up, you know, to your kid's recital at a football game and it disappoints him, it's the same way with these guys. And these guys deal with a lot of things because not on top of just being a football player, you got to worry about who's in your circle, who's loyal to you, who's fair to you. You know what I'm saying? You know, is these accountants doing the right things by you? And you got to put all that stuff to the side and go between those white lines and make TJ Jones happy, make Keenan Arthur happy, make Barbara happy, Chemo happy. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes we have to understand that these guys are human beings.
Nah, I gotta say this to bring a little bit of balance to what I was initially talking about, TJ.
Yeah.
I don't, while I understand the human part
right.
of, you know, you being a player,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should ever get to a point where you think you're above reproach.
I agree.
And you don't, man, look, a few years back when Drew Brees was turning into a great value version of a quarterback, and you, Ed, don't come for me, y'all. No disrespect to my boy. You hear me? You know, I'm Team Drew. But we got to be real. When Homie was that arm was turning into a noodle, and they couldn't push nothing past 20 yards, and you used to come on the show like after the game, and you used to be like, man, like wide receivers is getting open, but Drew can't get him the ball, and people was at your neck. You hear me?
Right.
I was so drove in that chat, bro, because you can't look at a dude's resume and things that he did in the past and apply it to the player that they are now. The past is the past for a reason, which is why we think players are so special, because they're enshrined in our memory based on what they did a long time ago. When Drew was, you know, diminishing and you was just pointing it out, people was trying to come at you like you was just hating on the dude or that you didn't love the Saints and stuff like that. And some of us, like myself, TJ, we've been following the Saints for decades.
Right.
You know? And for people to think that you can't criticize or scrutinize a player's play because you supposedly a fan, that's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
And man, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I told you, me and Chosen keep receipts. So we still got them in that vault, you heard me?
Yeah.
But I think as a like the Who That Nation, we gotta understand that you can still be a fan of a player or a fan of a team and still be objective.
Yeah. Look, I don't let that concern me. Now, I'll be lying to you if I didn't mention like earlier in the whole podcasting process, I did let it get to me. And it probably was because it was during the time when I started to realize, you know, I had a voice, you know, and it was getting to me. And my wife, shouts out to my wife, man, she had to reel me in a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And had to talk to me a little bit about not letting stuff get to me. At this particular point and at this stage in my life, I mean, I don't let that kind of stuff get to me because I understand, man, like I don't do anything to be facetious. Like this whole podcast, like I you know, is because I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be shock jock. I'm not trying to do that. So if I am being critical about somebody, I don't take a lot of pride in that at all. I'm just bringing it to people's attention. And I do agree with what you're saying about how people approach these players. Like I feel like it's almost like, you know, putting money in a bank and building up equity, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's how people feel about these players. If they feel like they seen these guys make more positive plays than negative, if they carry the team more times than not, then they do become beyond reproach, and we shouldn't say anything to them. But at the same time, you know, you can still be great. You know what I mean? Two things can be true. And this is the problem I have with society, Keenan Arthur. People can't understand that two things can be true. Like you still can be critical of a person, but you can still love them. And I use this example all the time. You know, like my wife loves me, but you know, at times, you know, she can be critical of some of the things I do. Does that mean that she doesn't love me? No, it means that she wants me to be better, or she's bringing something to my attention in order for me to adapt or change what I'm actually doing. So two things can be true, but in this social media world that we live in, unfortunately, people don't see it that way. If you go on social media, King Arthur, and you're talking about a player, let's just say you're talking about Michael Thomas or something like that. Let's say Michael Thomas came back, had a bad game, his first game back. Man, what's going on with Mike T? But you respect Mike T, but at the same time, you're bringing it to people's attention. A guy who don't normally drop passes is dropping passes, right? It doesn't mean that you don't care about the guy, like the guy. It just means that you're bringing something to people's attention. And I just feel like it's crazy that people would see those things just like you do, but then all of a sudden they start bringing up all of their highlights. Like, yeah, the guy is great, but that still don't negate the fact that he played bad that day. And I think if people start to look at that things that way, I feel like it'll be a lot better. But I try to stay away from those type of people. Like people, you know, I can have conversations with, I don't always agree with, but we can kind of have a, you know, meet in the middle type thing. Those are the people that I want to have conversations with. I don't like having conversations with people when I say something critical about a player that they like. Oh man, you ain't no real Saints fan. Well, like you said, I mean, I've been rolling with the Saints since the 90s, since I was sitting on my grandmother's floor because, you know, you couldn't sit on a couch, you know what I'm saying? She didn't let you sit on a good couch. So you're sitting on the carpet, you know what I'm saying? Listening, not watching King Arthur, listening to the New Orleans Saints because the games were blacked out. Some of y'all don't even know what the heck I'm talking about when I say that. So when you have that type of built-up equity, King Arthur, what can somebody say to you that can knock you off your stoop? Absolutely nothing, man.
I agree with that. And you just said what you just said, bro, a few seconds ago about not being able to be critical of a player without somebody challenging your fandom.
Right.
That right there is exactly why is one of the biggest reasons that Shannon Sharpe is no longer undisputed.
Yep.
It's crazy that people, they low-key take it personal when you say something, even if what you're saying is 100% a fact. Right. They'll take it personal because they like a player or love a player so much, and they'll take it, then they'll make it personal and take a shot at you and insult you because you say all you're doing is reporting what you're seeing on the field. Yeah. How if I see Drew Brees throw an interception and it's unlike him and I call it out, does that mean I'm not a Drew Brees fan no more? Or am I just pointing out the fact that was uncharacteristic of Drew Brees? Right. In that particular moment. That don't mean I love him any less or don't care for him as a player any less. Yeah. But people take it that way. And it don't make sense. It's relatively is low-key childish. Yeah, but man, this is just the world that we live in. You know, I know I keep saying that, but it's just the truth. You know, it's just the world that we live in. You know, people don't listen to, you know, to receive information. People wait for you to shut up so they can try to make a point to counteract what you're saying. And I feel like that is something that people need to get away from. You know, like if you've been rocking with the State of the Saints, if you've been rocking with Locked On Saints, if you've been rocking with New Orleans Football, and let's just say Ross, Nick, or myself say something like that, you know, people are like, what did he say? You can go back into the archives of many other episodes that probably saying something completely opposite that's praising that person. So you know that it don't come from a negative place. It's just what you're actually seeing at that particular point. So those are the people, like I said, King Arthur, those are the people that you have to pay attention to. You are not going to win the battle on social media. You just not, because people aren't listening to you. They're not listening to what you're saying. They're trying to wait for you to shut up or counter, you know what I'm saying, say something in order for them to counteract what you're actually saying. There's very little reception going on in this world of social media because everybody's trying to prove how great and how smart they are, and people aren't, you know, trying to show people how attentive they are. Because sometimes, like if you look at it and you start listening to people, you realize that you're having a battle against yourself and not the person that you actually going toe to toe with, man. I feel you on that, but I ain't gonna hold your line up, big dog. I got one last question, and then I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Do you believe that the defensive line is the most important level on the football field? And I'm gonna tell you, I think so because they set the tone and they make the second level and third levels job easier.
Yeah, I mean
What you think?
that's fair. You know, that's fair. But I'm look. There was this great debate that happened between former Raiders owner Al Davis and John Madden, and they were
Mhm.
like, "How do you build a good team?" And Al Davis believed that you build a team through the secondary, and John Madden believed that you build through the offensive line. I'm more of a John Maddenite here. You know what I'm saying? Like I believe in John Maddenisms. And I feel like you need to build through the offensive line. I feel like the offensive line is the most important position on the field because you can't run without good offensive line. You can't get the ball out without offensive line. No matter how open guys are, you're not going to be able to catch it if it ain't for the offensive line. Now, I'm not going to say that what you're saying isn't true. You need good defensive line in order for you to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, get the ball back to the offense in order for them to be effective. And they also do set the tone. So that's one of those situations, goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Two things can be true. And I don't feel like there's a right or wrong answer about that, unless you just say, kick a punter or something like that. Then we have a different conversation. But yeah, I think two things can be true. And I think there are compelling arguments for both of those sides of the football, offense as well as defense, the O-line as well as the D-line, man.
All right, bro. I appreciate your wisdom, man. Sorry I haven't been in every chat. Like I apologize. Like I said, it's the
Nah,
busy
man.
season for my company, bro.
Nah,
But
man. Look, I completely understand. This is actually the second show we done, man. I've been kind of, missing in action a little bit doing shows. I've been trying to work on, my studio, my nephew.
mhm.
I'm pretty sure you've seen on a few episodes. He's down here, so I've been kind of working with him. He's trying to get into the football thing. He got to go back to football practice in a couple of weeks. So just been working with him, man. But I appreciate you, man. I know every time like you can't be here, but I just appreciate the support, man, the love you show to the show.
Man, shouts out to you, bro. Like I see big things coming for you. I see big things with the Who That Nation. And when you get them soundproof walls in that studio, I'm showing up and we cutting up. You hear me?
Hey, man, it sounds good to me, man. You're always welcome. I call it Montague Street, man. I named it Montague Street because that was the that was the street that my grandparents stayed on for over 20 years, man. So just wanted to pay homage to my grandparents, and that was a house that I stayed in a couple of times, man. Growing up, sometimes things can get hard. I had to go back to Montague Street, so I have
Hey,
to, yeah.
real quick, was it a shotgun house?
Hey, kind of, sort of. You know what I'm saying? Like they had a little curve like towards the back of the house where you just couldn't see it completely, but it was a little bit of a shotgun, man. And I was telling a story jokingly about how when my grandparents used to leave, and I know my grandmother watching this right now, but anyway, we grown. But when they used to leave, we used to like move all the tables in the den area, living room area, and wrestle. And you can actually walk from the living room through the kitchen to the den living room area. You know what I'm saying? We used to walk out like we walking down the aisle like we Ric Flair. So yeah, man. But yeah, it was a little bit of a shotgun house, man. But it had a little curve at the end where you couldn't really see the back part of the house. But man, that man, it's almost like, if you ever watched that movie, The Titanic, and when the lady dies and she goes down to the bows of the ship, and all of a sudden, like you just start to see like the old debris ship, and then all of a sudden it goes back to the times of the 20s. That's the way it feels. Like I can close my eyes and envision that house, and I know every nook and cranny about it, man. So I get a little emotional thinking about that house, man, because I mean it's so synonymous with my family, and like I said, man, I just wanted to pay homage to that.
All right, big dog. Who that to you? And I'm gonna be in the chat. You heard me?
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. Call back anytime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. That was some great times right there. Shouts out to King Arthur. That was some great times. So, growing up in New Orleans on Montague Street at my grandparents' house. Like I said, man, that was always home. It was always home, and it's always going to be home to me. Yeah, if you grew up, in a house, and I know some of us, end up living in different places, and we're probably still there to this day because of what happened in 2005 with Katrina. But if you can go back, you probably can envision the houses, house or houses that you stayed in. And like I said, my grandparents' house on Montague Street, they stayed in that house for over 20 years. And it's a very, very special place. So had to give it some respect by naming my new studio after that. So shouts out to my grandparents, turning Montague Street to a beautiful home and something that I'm always gonna carry with me until I'm no longer here. I'm gonna read some of your comments and we'll go from there. It says Penny better be healthy this year. Oh man, that man said better be healthy because that pick was a reach, man. He like the Peyton Turner of the O-line. That's kind of early and premature for you to say that, right? I mean, I understand like the guy got hurt, but man, it's a little early. And we also, man, we got to stop comparing guys and situations to one another, and I get it. You want to see this guy play and you want to get bang for your buck. But everything that I see from Trevor Penning, I mean, every time I see him, he gets better every time he plays. And I think that he's going to figure it out and be a really good pro. I mean, it's unfortunate that things happen. I'm pretty sure he didn't want this to happen to him. It just happened. And he is unlike Peyton Turner, and I'm not knocking Peyton Turner, but Trevor Penning doesn't have a history of being injured. It just happened. This will happen that he got injured. It's unfortunate. I mean, he doesn't have a history of being injured, as far as I know. TJ, you don't respond in the chat.
You is kind. You is smart. You is important.
There you go, man. There you go. Sorry for holding up the line. As a matter of fact, hey, you was the only person on the line. I guess it was like one of those nights where people don't want to chime in, or they only want to chime in through the comments. So let me go ahead and scroll back up, man, because there was somebody that said something. Actually, it was no one left behind. And let me say this on no one left behind. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't commenting to the chat. It was the fact that King Arthur was on the line, and I wanted to give my undivided attention, man. That's kind of what we were talking about, the conversation. You want to be able to give people your undivided attention in order for you to be able to understand how they feel, and for them to understand how you feel. But I do appreciate the $9.99, man. Say, hey, what's up, TJ? I was late. And I also think that you said that again at the top. See, I paid attention to what you were saying. I just couldn't comment at the time because I'm giving somebody his undivided attention. I see it, man. I see it. Let's see. It says, hit that like button and subscribe to the SOTS on your way in. I really appreciate that. I'm going to open up the phone lines one more again. I'm going to go ahead and put that comment in the link. I probably can take like one or two more calls, man. I don't want to hold everybody up, man. And plus, on top of that, man, I got some things that I need to do that station-wise that I need to do before the night is over. So I can take maybe one or two more phone calls, talk a little bit about Saints minicamp, OTAs, or whatever, whatever direction you want to go in. Let's see. But he's a project too. We picked a project at 19. His techniques weren't there on tape in college, and when he was asked to play pass pro, he was getting cooked. That was one game. Now that was the first game. I agree with you on that one. What did they play? Did they play the Packers the first game? It was one of those games where he played so good at run protection that it negated the lack. I don't want to say a lack of effort because he gave effort. It negated how bad he played when it came to pass pro. That's how good he was as a run blocker. But the next week when he played, he scored much higher in the next game. So it's not so much about paying attention to one particular game. Look, guys are going to struggle probably early in their career. You know what I'm saying? Guys aren't going to hit the ground running all the time. Everybody's not going to do that. I think sometimes because you have a handful of rookies that come into the league, they get a lot of press clippings, they make some plays, they hit the highlight reel more times than not. We start comparing our rookies to them. But in reality, a lot of these guys go through growing pains. And, I think with Trevor Penning, I think the best thing that you can act for is, and you have to think about this. I'm asking you, okay, it's fair that you said that he struggled in pass pro his first game. That's fair, right? But I do want you to think about this too. Did every time that you see Trevor Penning, was there quality that he struggled with, he improved the next week? And I think if you go to the tape, I think it'll tell you everything you need to know. Let's not get so fixated on one particular thing or the shortcoming, because that's how narratives start, right? Let's focus on a complete body of work, right? Let's focus on, like, okay, and it's fair. If a guy struggles 1 week, let's focus and see going forward, did he improve that, right? Because if you don't do that, then the narrative in your mind is going to be that this guy can't get it right. And this guy just finished his first season. So I'm just asking, it's fair to be critical because, I mean, we want these guys to be the best and play up to their potential. But answer the question. Did the guy get better every week? Did he improve in something that he lacked in? That would be my question to you. I'm going to go to Mr. Rob. Mr. Rob, how you doing?
How we doing, TJ?
I'm doing just fine, man. Thank you so much for chiming in. Thanks for calling.
Yes, indeed. I want to talk about the defensive line.
Okay.
I know, in the trenches, we got to be tight in the trenches in order. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Rob.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I know we got to be tight in the trenches for us to live up there and have success on the back end, so far as our safeties and our cornerbacks and things like that of the sort. Right. I'm glad we had everybody in camp today. And I love to see Marshawn Lattimore. And so far as like cornerback 2, I know we got cornerback 1 is Marshawn. So cornerback 2, what you think should be our cornerback number 2?
Well, at this point, it's kind of hard to say. I can see why people excuse me. I can see why people are excited about Alontae Taylor. I mean, he has that dog mentality, he has that energy. He's expressive, and he doesn't shy away from any type of competition. We've seen him go up against Devontae Adams. He played formidable against him. We've seen him go up against DeAndre Hopkins. That was his first matchup. Think about this. Your first matchup is against arguably one of the best wide receivers of his generation. But he didn't shy away from it. And I can understand why people are excited about him. But I'm not ready to write off Paulson Adebo either. I think Paulson Adebo had a really good camp. He had that high ankle sprain, and it was much worse than a lot of people even thought. And they kind of played it off, man. But this dude was like really, really hurt. And I also think he went through a little bit of a sophomore slump. But I'm not ready to write him off. I think camp is going to decide this for us. I think both guys have something to offer. And also, I like the versatility. We're going to see both of these guys on the field. They're going to be Adebo playing nickel a little bit, playing on the outside, and vice versa for Alontae Taylor. But if I had a choice, man, it's kind of hard for me to say because these guys are so young, and both of them, to me, are special players. And they have the tendency, like, if something was to, like Lattimore is getting up there. So these two guys might be our 1 and 2 respectively for, like, what, 5 years, 5 years from now. So
right,
we got to look at it that way. So it's hard for me to pick, man. I ain't trying to, I'm not trying to shy away from the answer, deflect, but it's kind of hard, man, when you got 2 young guys like that.
Yeah, I like both of them, to tell you the truth. I like Alontae Taylor and I like Paulson Adebo. Right. But like I was saying, so far as these trenches and these lines, man, I think the running game is the running game. So far as us stopping the run is going to be very crucial to our success in this year. Your opinion on that?
Yeah. Look, I said this before when it comes to the D line. They got to hit the ground running. Like, it's too many years in years past where these guys started too late. Like, it's early in the season, they're getting little to no sacks at all. And then all of a sudden around week 8 or week 9, when you're fighting for your playoff lives or you're trying to win a division, then all of a sudden you turn it on. Like, man, you got to be able to, man, you got to preheat that oven just a little bit early, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever just put something in the oven, you know what I'm saying, and don't preheat it, it's going to take longer for it to cook, right? But if you preheat that thing 375, 400, and put that macaroni and cheese up in there, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be ready about an hour. Yeah.
Yes. Most definitely.
Yeah, man. So you got to hit the ground running, man. You got to hit the ground running. I think I definitely agree with what you're saying. Some of these guys are going to have to step up. Hopefully Isaiah Foskey can be able to contribute. Hopefully Peyton Turner, the liking turn on for him, and some of these other young guys that are going into their third, second year, you know what I'm saying, can be able to step up and make some plays. Because look, I like Cam Jordan. He's all-time great in the realm of the New Orleans Saints. Definitely going to be a Hall of Famer in my book. But, I mean, you're asking way too much for your soon-to-be 33-year-old defensive end to be able to carry the team. It's time for these young bucks to start running wild, and Cam Jordan to be taking his victory lap at this point. Not phoning it in, but for us to not just be looking at Cam Jordan to be the savior of the defensive line anymore.
Okay, right. And so far as our quarterback number 2, how are we looking at that? You think about that competition going on with Jameis Winston, and who else going to be the number 2? So I think Taysom Hill going to be our Swiss Army knife, you know. But so far as quarterback number 2, what you think on the take on quarterback number 2?
Oh man, I mean, look, it's Jameis Winston without a doubt. Jameis Winston is a good quarterback, regardless of what people may feel. And the Saints have the best situation when it comes to number 1, number 2 quarterbacks, respectively, when it comes to Carr and Winston. I mean, both of these guys are starters. Both of these guys are capable of putting up big numbers. Both of these guys are capable of leading teams to victory. So I think it's a plus. And also, maybe the Saints can be able to get Taysom Hill back to the Swiss Army knife that he was. It is a lot of things that couldn't take place because you were worried about, Taysom Hill being your backup or Taysom Hill having to come in the game in emergency situations. Now that you have Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, Jake Haener, Taysom Hill can be that Swiss Army knife that he always has been, and he can continue to contribute in a big way, and he can continue to confuse defenses because of how special he is. But I don't think there's any competition when it comes to the number 2 quarterback position. It's Jameis Winston. And Taysom Hill can, go out there and throw the ball every now and then and confuse the defense and be that guy that we need him to be in order for the Saints to be more effective offensively.
True that. Well, our schedule is kind of favor so far as us getting the playoff.
Right.
That schedule is kind of favor us right now. So hopefully, like I say, I mean, our record probably could be hopefully 14 wins and maybe like 3 losses. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm kind of pushing it like that. I'm kind of pushing it.
It's fair.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, based upon our skill position, TJ, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to live there and push it. But I'll be 13 and it will be all right with me. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, we trying to live there and I know hopefully we get this South, because I know the Falcons talking trash like they always do. But we're not worrying about them, you know what I'm saying?
I ain't concerned about no Falcons, man. Look, it's all like I have a lot of respect for some of the Falcon fans out there, man. But in reality, look, it's rather put up or shut up at this point, and I know it's their Super Bowl every time they play the Saints, but I'm not concerned about the Falcons, man. They got bigger fish to fry, and so did the New Orleans Saints. And the fact that, the only thing that they worried about really, truly, is trying to beat the Saints and showing people that now that Drew Brees is going, like, y'all not going to be the same team. The fact that Drew Brees is gone and the Saints still have a winning record post Drew Brees against the Falcons speaks volumes. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, the Saints have won more games versus the Falcons since Drew Brees left. I mean, they still got a winning record. So the theory about the Saints imploding because Drew Brees isn't there, I mean, is completely negated. I mean, who beat the Falcons? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was a who's who of quarterback. Taysom Hill beat him twice. Like, what? Wasn't Trevor Siemian or something like that, the quarterback or something before? Right. Like, come on, man. Like, give me a freaking break. So they got bigger fish to fry, man. And it's crazy how delusional some of these Falcon fans can be. Like, as if, the Saints, they only, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I think the Falcons only beat the Saints one time since Drew Brees retired.
And
Yeah,
I think that was
one
what, last
time.
year. I think that
Yeah.
was what last year, the game they
No,
had
it was year
last year.
before last, because you remember that
Oh,
pass. It was a pass by Matt Ryan to Cordell Patterson doing the right sidelines over Paulson to Debo.
oh Lord, Matt Ryan was there, so you know that was
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they only won one game versus New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees retired. So,
okay.
and Drew Brees will retire. What? This will be going into his third season. So 3? So that's 4 games, right? If I'm not mistaken. So the Saints are 3-1 versus the Atlanta Falcons post Drew Brees. And if you want to add the fact that Drew Brees were hurt in a couple of them games, they probably won more games than that. So,
right.
What can a Falcon fan tell you, Mr. Rob? Absolutely nothing. You got to kind of just let them. You just got to smile at Falcon fans sometimes. Sometimes they live in this alternative universe that's different from ours.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of Dallas Cowboy fans, but
yeah,
you know how that goes.
That's keen delusion. If the Cowboy fans are keen delusional, they Prince delusion around that time, man. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you got anything else for me, man?
Nah, I want to let you get some of your callers, man. I just want to let chime in on this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man. Hey, man,
I appreciate you accepting my call.
No problem, Mr. Rob, man. Thank you for chiming in, man. Call back anytime.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, take care.
All right.
Yeah, man. You got to kind of just smile at these Falcon fans, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't be knowing what they be talking about. I'm like, man, y'all just need to realize y'all ain't nothing without Brees. Well, the Saints may not be nothing to y'all, but they still something every time the Saints play y'all. Because once again, since Drew Brees retired, I could be wrong. The Saints are 3-1 versus the Falcons. And I'm not even counting the fact or the games that Drew Brees was hurt. I think they still played the Falcons and beat them, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Somebody fact check me on that one, but yeah. Hoodie Jude, thank you very much for the 999. Says, who that TJ? Great show like always, man. Question for you. You can only trade for one person and sign one free agent person. Who's those two? Who are those two may be? I would trade for Renfrow and sign Ndakwe. Well, look, when it comes to Ndakwe, I can understand why you feel the way that you do. I think he played for the Colts in 2022. Last season, he had 9.5 sacks, if I'm not mistaken there, according to this screen I got. And I think that the Saints can definitely, use some veteran pass rush help in a guy like Ndakwe. Renfrow, I definitely feel like that would be a good pickup for the New Orleans Saints. We talked about this constantly, Hoodie, here on the State of the Saints podcast, as well as your show and so many others, that the Saints have been missing that slot receiver since guys like Willie Snead and Lance Moore have been gone from the team and removed from the team. So to have a guy like Renfrow that you can count on in the slot that can make things happen, that definitely would be a plus. So I don't have an issue with any one of those guys. I'm more of, I'm not mad at a Danielle Hunter signing. If the Saints can do something like that, a trade or a sign if the Vikings decide to remove themselves from Danielle Hunter. Another wide receiver, I can't really, if you can get D-Hop somehow. I mean, everybody talking about how washed up he is and how he can't get over the top no more. So if, let's make a believer out of him. So if you can get a guy like Hopkins, that'll be a plus as well. I mean, I'm just doing some fantasy booking right now, like I'm a wrestling fan, which I am, but yeah, Renfrow and Ndakwe would definitely be some good pickups. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Not at all. I think that Ndakwe has been good everywhere he went. I got his stats pulled up right now. Like since what? 2017, he had 12 sacks. 2016 with the Jaguars, he had 8, 9.5 in 2018, 8, 3 when he was with the Ravens, 5 with the Vikings, and then all of a sudden kicked up again when he was with the Raiders. He had 10 and then 9.5 again. So what this tells me right now is that Ndakwe, pending injury, and he's dealt with a few injuries, he's pretty doggone good. So if you can get that pass rush help from a guy like that, it'll be a plus. And plus you have a veteran that can come in and help some of the young guys out. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to Barbara. Pretty doggone good. So if you can get that. How you doing, Barbara? That pass rush help from a guy like that, it'll be a plus. Plus you have a veteran that can come in and. Okay. Hey, Barbara, I got you on the line, but I can hear me in the background. So if you can turn it down just a little bit, so we'll be able to hear you. I'm gonna go ahead and put you back on the screen. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you? How about everybody in the chat?
Hey, it seems like everybody is doing just fine. But thank you so much, Barbara, for chiming in. Been a while since we heard from you, and glad that you can take some time and let us know how you feel about the team.
To tell you the honest to goodness truth about it, TJ, I'm doing my best to keep my stomach from jumping and to keep getting too excited about this because I don't want to be dashed like I was last year,
Yeah,
But
I think a lot of people feel that way. But, I mean, the more they add and the more things that you see and, that's proven that they're actually learning from their mistakes, it's kind of hard not to get excited about this year.
okay, but one thing that I'm really interested in, yes, I'm hearing the stories about there's been a Mike T sighting at camp, and
Right.
AK is there, and Smoke Monday has been there. But what I'm really interested in is what are those undrafted free agents that they've brought on doing? I mean,
Right.
the Saints have been an excellent team about finding those diamonds in the rough. And
Right.
I'm sure that there are some in this class, just like there was last year. Crow and Shaheed both were
Right.
undrafted free agents. So I'm
Right.
excited to see who's going to come out of the undrafted free agent class this year. And I haven't heard much news about them.
Well, I think you're probably going to hear more about them around training camp. I mean, if you think about some of the guys in years past, you didn't really hear that much about them until like around training camp. That's when you start to hear guys like, Deontay Hardy or Harris, making plays, or you start to hear about, I mean, when it came to Shaheed, I mean, he was hurt. So a lot of people weren't really saying that much about him, but the Saints kind of hit him out because they realized how special he was. If you can go back a little bit further, guys like Pierre Thomas, right? I mean, guys who they've been able to find. And you got to give credit to Jeff Ireland, who is a head over scouting and the assistant GM. I mean, he does a really good job finding those diamonds in the rough. And I think that you're probably going to get the answer to your question around training camp when these guys be able to hit the field and we can actually see them. Like, I know preseason is a little bit boring, but when you actually can see some of these guys actually get some reps and take advantage of it, I think that's going to let us see what these guys can do, and also taking advantage of the reps at practice.
They don't let people come down and watch mini camp, do they?
No, you have to be like a member of the media in order for you to be able to check out mini camp. Now, I don't know what some other teams do. I'm not sure if other teams like allow a few fans to come in there, but I from everything I heard, it's mostly like open to the media, and the media is the ones that can be able to check it out. Well, training camp, it's open to the public pending, inclement weather. That's when they go inside. And I don't think anybody can get in there for the exception of the media, but they can't record anything.
All I'm hoping is that I can get 2 slots for training camp this season.
Well, I think you'll get opportunity to. I know right now, people from what I hear, I have a few fans I've talked to said that they are trying to, get some tickets to training camp. I don't think it's as crazy as it's been in years past, where, people like, they just, selling out left and right. I think that there's a lot of skepticism about this team. You got some diehards that's going to come regardless, but you got some people that's trying to, making certain decisions like, man, do I want to go out here or not? But I think there's going to be opportunities. So if you get a chance to go out there, I say take advantage of it.
Yeah, I got to go because Alontae Taylor has to sign that picture of him and me that was took last year.
Oh, yeah. Well, you definitely got to get out there so you can get that sign. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that'll be a great experience. I mean, a lot of people that, that go to training camp, like yourself, they always talk about, how much fun they have, not just because they get opportunity to, see these players up close, but also just the fans that's there that can make the experience special as well.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out, TJ.
Okay, well, Barbara, thank you so much for chiming in. I appreciate it, and then make sure you call back anytime, and don't be a stranger when the season starts either.
Oh, I won't be.
Okay, and I hope you get your picture signed by Alante.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
all right. Take care, Barbara.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, shouts out to Barbara, man. Look, I hope she gets that sign, and if just so happen that Alante Taylor is watching this right now, please, man, if a lady named Barbara comes up to you, please sign her picture. Please sign. But we're gonna go ahead and go to Slim South, and we're gonna go ahead and close it out with Slim South, and then I'll read a few comments. Let's go to Slim South. Slim, how you doing, man?
What's up, TJ? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, man. Thank you for chiming in, Slim.
Thanks for having me on, brother. Good seeing you again.
Yeah,
First of all, I'm gonna say it as much, brother.
Mhm.
I'm a Falcons fans. I'm gonna call y'all New Orleans, Georgia, because everything y'all doing is copying the Saints. Am I right?
Hey, you ain't lying. I mean, look, you got the Saints, former assistant general manager as your general manager. You got the Saints former defensive coordinator as your defensive coordinator. You got the Saints starting defensive tackle as your starting defensive tackle. You got the Saints linebacker as your linebacker. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, it just seemed like to me like I know I'm pretty sure you seen Coming to America. Okay, you had John Amos, who played Mr. McDowell, and then
Yep.
Akeem walked into the room and he was looking at the McDonald's manual to try to run his business. Like that's what they are right now. You know what I'm saying? We McDonald's and then McDowell's right now. But hey,
They got the
man, I
Golden
mean,
Arcs.
yeah. I mean, imitation is what's the sincerest part of flattery, right? So we should be
Yes,
flattered as
sir.
Saints fans.
But yeah, man. And another point I want to say is I'm really intrigued on who's going to be opposite of Cam Jordan. Like you from New Orleans, TJ. You know we used to say it's time to boot up or shut up. It's time to boot up or shut up.
Hey,
You remember that?
Boot up, shut up. Hey,
Yeah. Come on now.
gotta get
Let
your
them know,
life
TJ.
man. Yeah, man. Look, for real. I agree with you, man. It should be interesting, man. They got some young guys. They got some veterans that can possibly take that spot, man. But it should be interesting at practice, man. But I want to see guys like Peyton Turner. I want to see guys like Tano Passy. I want to see these guys step up, man, and take that spot. I think it's definitely time for Peyton Turner, man. You're a first-round draft pick back in 2020, man. It's time for you to step up, especially since the Saints has washed their hands with Davenport. Now you up next.
Right. And like I'm really root for the guy, but man, when you bet on the best ability is availability, and he has never been available. So
I agree.
I want to see what he can do. And but I must say I have a concern, TJ.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody brought this up to you or anybody in the chat, but special teams is my concern. We have no return game since Deontay Harris before Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
So where's that, where's that production going to come from on special teams by return game? That's my only concern.
Yeah, I mean, look, that is a level of concern. I mean, Hardy was or Harris was a special player when he was in special teams. That's how he made the team. That's how he carved out a niche, and that's how he got paid in Buffalo, where he is right now. I look at a guy like Shaheed to be able to do that, but the more I see him in practice and the more I feel like he moves up the depth chart, it might open up opportunity for a guy like Malik Flowers, a guy who had all those records on special teams on a collegiate level. I mean, you also have some other guys that can possibly come in that you can, if you're not getting it from Malik Flowers as of right now, you probably can add. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Saints went out and got a guy trying to take a look at a guy like Kiki Kuti that came over. He's really good on special teams as well. But and not only just that, but also, man, the kicking game too. Like the kicking game, the punt game. Blake Gillikin, he had a really good, solid rookie season, but he took a step back too. And Will Lutz, man, I mean, he ain't so clutch as he once was. He ain't showed it last year. And right now, from what I'm hearing, man, that rookie kicker is making it very interesting. I mean, it's not a guarantee that Will Lutz gonna be on his football team at the beginning of the season.
Right. Facts.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this on this last note, and I don't want to hold you up too much, brother. Dennis Allen is on you, bro. You brought in your own coaching staff, you brought in your own players, you made the shot calls. It's up to you. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's time for him to really show what he can do, you know. And honestly, there are no more excuses. And we said this so many times, Slim. There's only so many excuses that you can have. Oh, this was Sean Payton coaches, or this wasn't the team that I wanted. The Saints have given him the opportunity to pick the coaches that he wanted, to keep or get rid of the players that he did or did not want. And same thing with the coaches. So, I mean, there are very little excuses that you can give. It's rather you have it or you don't. He's a great coordinator, and I think that's something that can't be argued or disputed. But when it comes to the head coaching, a lot of unanswered questions about that. But hopefully this team, along with the schedule and some of the things that they were missing last year, can be able to make up for the lackluster season, man, last year. Because I don't think I can take too many more seasons of this, bro.
Me either. I took so many Tylenols and aspirins last season, bro. It was ridiculous. High blood pressure.
Hey, you ain't the only one, man. A lot of Saints fans were extremely frustrated at what they saw. And, you know, the only thing that was really holding them, you know, to continue to watch the games was the fact that they were fans. Like, if you weren't a Saints fan last season, I don't think you'll be watching the team. And I know we wanted these guys to be on prime time and all that kind of stuff in years past, but I'm going to be quite honest with you. I wasn't checking for them being on prime time. I just wanted to see. I'm just saying, like, you got to make people want to see you. And, man, it was at a point where I was like, man, the less I can see is the better. I want to do these shows, but, man, they got to give us something to be excited about. But they have been by selecting some of these players. And, you know, so hopefully they can get this thing together, man, and get back to their winning ways so we can have some more interesting things to talk about.
That's right, TJ. So I'm gonna end on that note, bro. Keep doing your thing, brother. Thanks for having me on again. And I'm not gonna be a stranger.
Oh, man, please don't, Slim South, man. Appreciate it, man. Much love to you, man. Thank you for not just chiming in here on the phone line, but also in the chat, man. I always look forward to your commentary, brother.
And let me say one more thing. Who that nation? Subscribe to the Gumbo Podcast, y'all. Come on now.
Yeah, please.
Gumbo is good for you. It's good. Gumbo is always good. Good food, man.
Hey, man, we try to cook it up, man. We try to add a little shrimp and some crab meat up in there every now and then, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Right. Call back anytime. All right. Yeah, man. Make sure you check out the Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast and also gumbopodsports.com. Got some articles out. I wrote an article today, just was about Stephon Diggs not showing up to minicamp. You know, so that was interesting. I don't understand why the guy didn't show up, but hey. Let's see. Hoodie, thank you very much for the $4.99. Said this is not Slim South 504. This is T.I. You can have whatever you like. Hey, man, he did sound like a New Orleans version of T.I., man. Yeah, he did. He did sound like T.I. Westbank. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, shouts out to Slim South, man. He's a good brother and always he always has like really good commentary, good questions and comments as well. Says prime time more like Miller time. Yeah, lie. It was Miller time of many a nights, you know, watching New Orleans Saints for a lot of Saints fans. Been a Saints fan since 1976. I never wore a bag. I always have Saints pride. Who that? And I ain't never. Well, I take that back. I wore a bag, but it was more so like just trying to be funny. Like we used to take these paper bags that we used to get from Swagman's, and we used to design them. Like anybody that knows my big brother EJ, you know he's an artist. So we used to, you know, get all festive and decorative with it. But I think anybody that wore a bag, it was almost like a term of endearment at the point, because it wasn't like how people like perceive it. Like, man, like people that's outside of New Orleans, they feel like, oh, the bag was like, man, it's just so, the team was so bad, you don't want nobody to know you was at the game. That like maybe like when it first came out. But then, like as time went on, it became like a term of endearment. You know what I'm saying? Like a symbol of endearment, I should say. And you know, people just started to be a little bit creative with it. But you know, we always had love in our heart for the New Orleans Saints. Like I said, I always say, like the New Orleans Saints are the main reason why I ended up like getting into broadcasting. You know, I mean, that's just the truth. Like, you couldn't watch Saints games because they were so bad. You only can listen to them. And Jim Henderson and the late great Hokie Gajan was the way I was able to know what was going on with the Saints. So, and I think it was the truth for a lot of people. But look, as far as the bags, like growing up in the 90s, like it was never like, man, I would just didn't like the team. I always had love in my heart for the New Orleans Saints, even though, you know, it was some rough times, right? It was some rough times. Y'all think it's rough now, some of y'all young cats. Man, go back to the 90s. Come on, TJ, we going to let you slide on that bag. No, look, I ain't the only person. I'm not the only person, and I already said it. Like, man, what? Wait a minute. I've been told this story. Some of y'all, this story might be new to, but I've been told this story. We used to go to Swagman, get them bags, and you know what I'm saying, and decorate the bags, and you know what I'm saying, and do it as a joke or whatever like that. Look, I listen to every Saints game. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Every Saints game, and the games that they had on television, I watched. I mean, look, growing up in a household where you went to church every single Sunday, my grandmother made sure that the timer was on a VCR so we can always go back and watch the first half. All right, win, lose, or draw. You know, when they had opportunity to get on TV, like towards going towards the 2000s and in the 2000s when Aaron Brooks was the quarterback. But before that, once again, I used to listen on the radio. That radio, and I remember like yesterday, that same house on Montague Street, in my grandmother's den, next to the washer and dryer, there was a window that sat right there, and you had to put that thing right by the window so you can be able to get the signal, because anybody knows, like, 870 is when you used to tune into the games. 870 AM, which is a low power station. Yes, we are towards the end of the show, folks. Story time. So you used to have to put the antenna by the window in order for you to hear it. So yeah, I used to watch when I could, and also listen to every Saints game, but still had to make it fun. You know, I mean, it was some rough times, man, for real. It was some rough times. So hey, but I still love this team, regardless. Always have, always will. Never will wear a bag, but sure go to bed drunk after a loss. Spend most of last season drunk. And look, I like I said, some people wore the bag, and I really believe this, especially in the 80s. It was the fact that, and honestly, even that was a joke. You know, like, so I never looked, like, as crazy as that sounds, I never looked at the bag as an embarrassing thing, because you had some people, like I said, early stages, probably that was the case. But as time went on, it just became, you know, like, man, it became funny. You know, it's almost like going, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like going to the parade, you know what I'm saying? They used to have them little, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, them little funny little, you know, dookie hats, you know what I'm saying? They used to sell out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like, shoot, you know, but that's just kind of the way that it was. I mean, it was fun times. I mean, not when you was a Saints fan, but, you know, decorating them bags and trying to make something funny out of something that was excruciating week after week after week. Hey, I wouldn't take that back for nothing. I wouldn't take those days back for nothing, for real. We all good, long as that blood is black and dark, man. Look, I bleed, like, I bleed black and gold from the depths of my soul. Like, this ain't no lie here. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, and I'm not gonna, you know, make it seem like, you know, some things I didn't do, but I did it like in a way of, you know, being funny. But the Saints have always been my first love. I mean, look, you ain't have a choice, number one, because my grandmother, once again, was a diehard Saints fan. I'm talking about since the expansion of the team. My grandmother watched every single game, right, and still do to this day. Like, if I was to put my grandmother on this line right now, I wish that she would chime in one day. Like, she always tells my mom, you know, the things that she wants to say. But my grandmother is a diehard Saints fan. Like, if I put my grandmother on the line right now, like, you'll see why I love the Saints the way that I do. My love and my passion for the team come from her. One time, TJ hit the DA. Hey, I was, I was gonna wait to the end, but Cowboy fans were wearing bags in 2010. Yeah, man, the Cowboy fans, like they've been delusional since what 97, I'm gonna say, 96. They've been delusional since 96. Fact, Elite God, my granny always did my books with that. That was hilarious. Hey, for real, yeah, the book covers. I think we talking about the book covers. Yeah, the Swagman, man. Look, Swagman had the best bags, okay? Swagman's had the best bags. First off, Swagman Superstore off there, Old Gentilly Boulevard. Like, that was the spot. Like, before Walmart and all them other places that were taking over, Swagman Super Center, the big, huge orange grocery store that had like 4 sides that you can dip up out that thing in on Old Gentilly Road. That was the spot everybody used to go to, and they had the best bags. Like, you can put about a 20 canned goods off in that thing. That thing still ain't gonna break through. I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about. I know some of y'all enrolled to that Swagman's. They had 2 that I used to always go to. Okay, the one that was on St. Claude that later became Roberts. It was off the corner of St. Claude and Elysian Fields. And then, of course, like I said, the big Swagman's that was on Old Gentilly Road. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. And then because it was like right down the street, and right down the street from that, come on, where my OGs at? What was down the street from that Swagman's? That Kmart, man. Before it became a beauty supply store. Yeah, man. Somebody said, don't forget Canal Villery. Yeah, man. Look, Canal Villery. I didn't really go to Canal Villery like that. But I'm very familiar with it. Now, there was a couple places that was like staples where I used to go. First off, the bargain center. My grandma, my mom, them used to stay off in that bargain center. I think the bargain center, I can't remember where it was exactly, but I know it was like off St. Claude Avenue. It sat on a corner. I can't remember what street it sat on, but we used to always be over there. Like I said, Swagman's was another. Kmart, every now and then. Dale Shamps, if you were lucky. Okay, they didn't put Dale Shamps everywhere. I used to go to Dale because they had that Dale Shamps that used to be in the east. So, of course, I stay in the Ninth Ward area, man. I didn't really go to the east that much, right? I ain't really catch the Lake Forest bus like that. My mom was kind of overprotective of us, so we ain't really go to the Lake Forest Mall like that. So I only went there, I didn't really go to the east that much. But like some of the stores, like if it was in the Ninth Ward, I rolled off in that thing. Woolworks, yep. I see somebody saying Woolworks, yep. Can be used to sit on the corner of Elysian Fields. And it's crazy. This is like right across the street from the Walgreens. That's still there to this day. That's the one thing that's still there. Like that has been there for, man. I know that Walgreens has been there for at least 40 years. Okay, because I'm almost 40, so I know for a fact that Walgreens that's on the corner of St. Claude and Elysian Fields has been there for I don't know how long, and I always step foot in there every time, man. Since we can't go to the man, we can't go to some of those other places that you used to go to because they're no longer there anymore. Let's see, the Real Superstore. Yeah, the Real Superstore on Airline Drive. We used to go to this place that was on the West Bank, I guess. It was called Suda. They used to call it Suda Salvage. Like it was a grocery store. Some of y'all probably know what I'm talking about. Suda Salvage was like a grocery store, and it was almost like a last chance store. And they used to sell like these big bulk of things like for really, really low before they like go, before they they expire or the can might be a little bit bent up or something like that. But it was pretty cool because they used to make it seem like it was a parade. So if you go there like on a Tuesday, like they used to bring the meat out, on a big cart, and people be like waving, like throw it here, like you at the Mardi Gras parade. It was pretty dope, man. So yeah, those are fun times, man. Some of the young viewers, you probably don't really know about those stories, but some of the OGs that's on here, y'all definitely know what I'm talking about. Yeah, y'all definitely know what I'm talking about. You said that Woolworks too. Yeah, Woolworks. Darnell, that was my neighborhood store. Let's see, them McKenzie's Donuts, TJ. Yeah, I mean, McKenzie's was on St. Claude too. It was like right down the street from my elementary school that I went to. Now they had two, right? They had the McKenzie's. I don't know if it's still there. It was off Chef, right? You know what I'm saying? In the Gentilla area, right? It's like right down the street from Dillard's University. And they used to have that big old yellow sign that said chicken in a box. And hey, I ain't gonna lie. That was some bomb chicken. That now it was some steroid chicken. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Them chicken pieces were about that thigh was about that big, about as big as my hand. And the chicken was so greasy that it used to bleed through the yellow box. But man, that chicken was good. My goodness. My goodness, that chicken was good, man. For real. Okay. And some of y'all probably know it's directly across the street from where the Burger Orleans is, right? In Gentilly. I believe it's still there. I mean, a lot of these places I'm probably naming probably no longer there, but I think I'm pretty sure Burger Orleans is still there. Yeah, them buttermilk drops. Yeah, man. Yeah, the buttermilk drop was all changed. Yep, I'm an 80s baby. I remember all that. Yeah. I mean, those were some good times right there, man. And then things when, you know, as expensive as they are now, you know. Let's see if we can get a Saints question at the end of the show. What about the offensive line? Or are we going to build up a chemistry just like put on the recipe on the food, TJ? I saw Alvin on the field at practice with their players for real. Well, look, hopefully the offensive line can be able to improve from what they did last year. And hopefully these guys can stay healthy so we can really get a good sample size of what those guys can look like. I expect for them to be better. Trevor Penning, a year removed from his rookie season. Hopefully, you know, Cesar Ruiz can, you know, if he can't get that contract with the Saints, he can play well enough to be able to, you know, get that money somewhere else. You know, Andrews Pete, I mean, he is who he is. You know, Dick Saldevery, hopefully, if he gets the opportunity to play, he can hit it out the park. So I want to see what these guys can do, but you know, they'll get it done. They'll get it done. Galvez and St. Bernard, that's the original McKenzie's. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, but as far as I know, my original McKenzie's was the one on St. Claude. A lot of the areas I didn't really go to, man. First off, my mom didn't have a car, and my mom wouldn't let me catch no bus, you know, to go to some of these places. Like, you know, if you talking 9th Ward, 8th Ward, even 7th Ward area, I know I'm with you. You know, like I know what you're talking about. You know, but something like the uptown, like, you know, like around, you know, the St. Bernard and stuff like that, going towards the uptown area, like, man, my mom ain't let me really go too much over there. Look, around St. Bernard Avenue, I'm gonna keep it 100. My mom, shouts out to my mom friend, Miss Lewis. Like, she used to go like uptown because her mom like stayed off St. Bernard. My first teacher, Miss Lewis, may she rest in peace. We used to like go up there and you know, she'll like do a banking business and stuff like that too, in that area. But yeah, I didn't really go to many places like around St. Bernard. And I probably went on St. Bernard probably more my freshman year at Dillard University. That's when I really was going to St. Bernard, because anybody that knows Dillard, I mean, if you go underneath that overpass, man, make that right turn, you're on St. Bernard Avenue. So, yeah. The first chicken box was on Allegiant Field in Claiborne across from the bottom line. Yep. What about Foster Morrow on the field at training camp, TJ? I think that's a good look. I think that what this brother has endured and the news that he got and the fact that we are actually talking about him being on the field is a blessing. And I wish this brother a perfect bill of health. It's much deeper than just him catching some passes or blocking for a running back. It's deeper than that. You know, I wish this brother a clean bill of health. And the fact that he's actually on the field is a blessing in itself. There's actually a McKenzie's in Metairie off Harrison Avenue. Next time I'm down there, I'm going to check it out. Let's see. I'm from Gerttown. My McKenzie's was on Carroll. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Carrollton Avenue. Oh yeah, man. You was uptown. You was going up. You was uptown. You was up there off close to Broad Street. Let's see. This in the 7th Ward, TJ. That's in the 7th Ward. Yeah. Let's see, TJ. You have to stay on the pouch on a porch. I assume you saying porch. Yeah, man. My mom didn't play that. My mom didn't play that. You know. But at the same time, look, I don't feel bad about it at all. My mom was a single mother. She raised me, you know, and my two brothers and my sister by herself, and she was just trying to protect us, man, because she understood what was out there in them streets. And you know, I don't feel like I was neglected or robbed out of an experience. I still went to Mardi Gras, still went to the Jazz Fest. Never been like, this may sound crazy. I've never been to Essence Fest, but that was by choice. I'm not a real big concert person, even though I work in radio, which is insane. But yeah, I just never really been into that. But I wasn't never deprived. I had the full New Orleans experience, right? You know the wino dancing outside the corner store, seen it. The guy dancing underneath the bridge, seen it. The guy who had the umbrella on his head, holding the Bible in his hand, posing, seen it. The guy that was, should have been playing for the Saints. He used to be playing on the neutral ground off Canal. Off Canal Street. This dude used to be on the neutral ground out there running plays, yelling at himself about dropping the football. Like, man, what you doing? What you doing? But I got to tell you, while you're waiting for the Canal bus or waiting for the Galvez bus, that guy was entertaining, right? And also, you know, I got to give credit and a shout out to those backflipping brothers on Galvez Street when they used to take the double mattresses and be turning backflips in an open field. Like, if you ain't seen some homeboys or some guys you know from your hood turning backflips on a mattress, the guy who, you know, the preacher man with the megaphone and the umbrella and the Bible in his hand, and you ain't see the guy that was playing football on neutral ground on Canal, you ain't had the full New Orleans experience. Never been to Essence either, TJ. Yeah, I ain't never really been. Yeah, Whistle Man. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about, man. Look, y'all know what I'm talking about, man. Hey, some of y'all I'm losing, but some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there are staples in the city, man. There's staples in the city that it sounds crazy, but if you are ingrained in the fabric of New Orleans, like during the times where I was growing up, like these people were like just as important as the monuments that were, you know, that are in the area or Superdome itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how those people become, you know, to you. You know? Let's see, we them Super Fair kid. Exactly. Super Fair kid. Exactly. Before East Bay Magazine, that was the Super Fair. And if you went at the Super Fair, bruh, if you couldn't get them $2 to go to the Super Fair on a field trip or the car show, you know, down in the Superdome on a Saturday or on a Friday, man, I'm telling you, that was some great New Orleans experience. And thank you so much for making the State of the Saints podcast a successful show, where we not only talk about the New Orleans Saints, but we talk about buttermilk drops, bus tickets, Carrollton Avenue, and Mackenzie's Chicken in a Box. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, facebook.com, search Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast. Check out the Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast, available on YouTube. Check out the website, gumbopodsports.com. For all the latest news in sports, especially football. We got an HBCU division coming really, really soon in the next few weeks. Make sure you check it out. Let me know what you think. You can also interact with me on Twitter at TJAYJones8. Shouts out to everybody that chimed in, everybody that called in, made the show a success here today, tonight, or whenever you're looking at this show. Thank you so much for taking the time out, because you could have been somewhere else. Really do appreciate it. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, a part of the Belly Up Media Network. And we're going to be talking about day 2 of minicamp on tomorrow's episode of the State of Saints podcast. Keep it locked right here, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Till next time, all I got to say is, who that?
let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.